Hello, my name is Royden Vroman, and today I'll be presenting my Shadow Leader presentation for my Humanities SLS 2264 project. As you can see, I chose Eric Bennett to be my Shadow Leader project. And he's the GM of my facility where I work. I work for Coca-Cola, and he's been the GM since the day I started there. I started there 9 years ago, and he's been the GM the entire time. That's why I chose him, hoping I could pick up some of his leadership traits and apply them to my own leadership. So here's an overview of what we'll be going over today. First, I'll be going over how I schedule my meetings with him and the introduction I did when I talked to him about what we'll be doing. What I learned about him, whether it be his leadership philosophy, his vision for the company, conflict resolution techniques, how to build trust and empower others, and then a conclusion of what overall I learned from him during this time. So schedule an introduction. So Eric Bennett's a very busy man. He has a lot of meetings and phone conferences, video conferences all the time. So it's very hard for me to just go to his office and knock on the door and talk to him about this stuff. So I have to schedule via email. I scheduled all my meetings via email. We met in his office once a week. I scheduled it through the Outlook and his calendar, and I blocked off about an hour once a week to perform these interviews with him. And during these meetings, we discussed his leadership style and his traits. Every time I talked to him, he was very prompt to returning all my emails to say, hey, I'm not available this day, so can we reschedule to the next day? He always made time for me, so if I did try to schedule a meeting today and he was very busy, he was sure to give me another time where he's free. He wanted to make sure that every week I could get to sit down with him and go through all this stuff. He was very helpful with that. He's extremely, extremely knowledgeable. Every question I had for him, he had an answer to it, and he could back up with examples of his previous failures. Sometimes he did some stuff that was failures, and he learned from them, and he explained this to me so that I didn't have to go through the failures. And like I said, he was very helpful with setting all this up and willing to do anything he needs to help me succeed. Building trust. Listening to others. That is the biggest thing that he said you can do to instill trust, to build trust in others. When you go to people and they say they had a problem, they messed something up, instead of going to them and just, hey, you messed this up, I need you to do this, this, and this to fix it, and I never need to have it again. Listen to them. Go in and ask them, hey, what happened? And listen to them. They might tell you something you didn't know that could have happened, so it wasn't their fault. It could have been mechanical failure, it could have been automation failure, electrical failure. Nothing that was their fault at all to begin with. So don't assume they made a mistake. Go to them and listen to what they have to say. They might tell you something you didn't know happened, and you can fix it from happening again in the future. And that builds trust. They trust that you're going to try to help them figure out what happened rather than get them in trouble every time something happens. Follow through on promises. This is a kind of two-parter. He said, don't make promises that you cannot keep that say you're not 100% in control of. For instance, don't make a promise to one of your employees, say, hey, next year I'm going to get you a promotion and move you to make 10 grand more a year, if you don't have the sole ability to do that. And if you have to get authority from higher-ups higher than you, don't make that promise, because even though you want to, this person up higher than you can't. So if you're making a promise you can't keep, they're not going to trust you anymore. When you say, hey, I'm going to do this for you, I'm going to do that for you, they're going to be like, I don't trust you, you're not going to do that for me. Lead by example. This is a pretty obvious thing. Do what you say every time. So if you say, hey, I need you to stay late today, stay late with them. Do it the same thing. So you're not saying, hey, I need you to stay late every day, but you go home every day after 8 hours. You're making them, they're not going to trust you as much. They're going to be like, it's not fair, he's making me do things, but he isn't going to do it himself. That's just a small example. And keep an open dialogue. Like I said, he is a very busy man. It's hard to get to see him, but you need to have someone that you can go to if you have a problem with something, whether it be conflict between people or just something's not working right with your work schedule or something. You need someone that be open. Say, hey, you can always come to me if my door is open. You can come in my office, talk to me about anything, and I'm open to listen and give you my responses and hopefully help you with anything you need. This is his leadership philosophy. I talked to him and he said, act like a leader, not a boss. And that's kind of what this picture means. Bosses tell people to do something. Leaders help people accomplish a task. So instead of telling someone, hey, this is a task I need done, help them. So as you see, these guys are having to work a lot harder because they're having to pull him along with it, whereas this guy's helping him to pull it. So it's going to achieve your goal a lot faster. Follow through the promises. I kind of went over that already, but it's the same thing. People are going to work harder for you and do a lot more for you if you can follow through and help them. And don't make promises you can't keep. I kind of went over that as well. All right, here's our company's vision. I'll read this to you, but it's kind of a mouthful, so I'll go through it slowly afterwards. So our company's vision is to assure the continuous supply of flavors and other proprietary ingredients of unquestionable quality and integrity at the lowest possible cost while delivering innovation and protecting the company's intellectual property. Like I said, that's a mouthful, so I'll go through it shortly and surely. Assure the continuous supply of flavors and other proprietary ingredients. We manufacture the flavors that go into all the Coca-Cola beverages around the world. And this is saying we're going to continuously supply that non-stop. So there's never any, if we slow down, now Publix is going to be out of Coke this week or something. We need to keep a continuous supply of that. Of unquestionable quality and integrity. That's a big, big one. If you go to the store and you buy a Coke, you want to open it up and just drink it. And you know it's going to taste exactly the same every time. There's not going to be any chunks of anything. It's going to be exactly the same every time. It tastes delicious every time. So that's saying unquestionable quality. The consumer does not need to question, this is Coke and it's going to taste good. At the lowest possible cost, that's saying, we don't want to, it's a business, you want to make money. So if you can get ingredients, same ingredient elsewhere, it's going to do the same job at a lower cost, we'll go that route. While delivering innovation, innovation is trying to improve the process and maybe even make new products. So we're going to deliver innovation to the company and try to improve our process. And protecting the company's intellectual property. That's basically self-explanatory. A lot of our stuff is top secret. We don't want competitors to figure out how we do things and mimic us. Conflict resolution. This is one I struggled with a lot. I've been in my leadership role now for 6 months, where I lead 22 other operators, and this is the hardest thing that I have had to come up with. Excuse me. Eric Bennett is extremely, extremely good at this. I've noticed it in my whole 9 years here. He will calm the situation down extremely fast, get people that are very hostile and upset in a very good mood by the end of his conversation. I'm not sure how he does it. That's why I chose him for this, because he's very good at it, and hopefully he can teach me a few things on it. He said the biggest thing you can do is listen to what they have to say. A lot of leaders, when they see a conflict going on elsewhere, they will walk into the room, hey, try to take control of the whole situation, don't let anybody talk, and do all the talking themselves. That's not going to calm them down. What you need to do is you get in there and say, hey, say it's 2 different operators, 2 different people arguing. You say, hey, tell me your side of the story. You be quiet right now. Tell me your side of the story without responding. He responds to, okay, now you tell me your side of the story. And a lot of times, even if you do that, that forces them to listen to each other as well, and it calms them down, because while this one's talking, this one can calm down, vice versa. And maybe they get to hear something they didn't understand quite thoroughly that they were talking about. Same goes for you. Speak calmly. Keep a low tone voice, calm, and this also goes for body language. Don't be going in there, your face all red, your arms all crossed, like you got your guard up and say, what happened here, da-da-da-da. Speak calmly and listen to what they have to say. Avoid you dummy statements. This is one thing I didn't understand when he first explained to me, and it means a lot to me now. A lot of times when I go talk to people, say they messed up something out there and they overflowed a bottle or something, and we lost a lot of product down the drain on the floor, lost $100,000, whatever it be. Just an example. Instead of going, oh my God, why'd you do that? How could you have possibly done something that like that? You lost a lot of money for us. If you can put "you dummy" at the end of any sentence, that's how they're going to interpret it. You're not going to say it, but they're going to hear "you dummy," like you're calling them a dummy. And that's going to shut them down, put their guard up. They're going to be like this. They're not going to want to tell you anything about it. Like, I don't know what happened. They're not going to give you any info. So it's like, why did you do this? And then you put "you dummy" at the end. That makes sense. Why'd you do this, you dummy? That's how they're interpreted. They're going to think they're a dummy. You're calling them stupid, and they're not going to want to listen to you, and they're going to just be all defensive and not help you find the real problem. Instead, you should go out there and be like, hey, you overflowed this container, and we lost a lot of product down the drain. And do you have any idea how that could have happened? You can't put "you dummy" at the end of that. It doesn't make sense. Do you have any idea how that could have happened? It just doesn't work. So then they're like, oh, yeah, well, I was filling this thing up, and this alarm went off over here, and it distracted me. I went over here to see what it was, and by the time I turned around, it was all going over the place. So instead of being, oh, they weren't paying attention, something else over here distracted them, and you could possibly go over there and see, oh, we have a issue with this alarm, it's malfunctioning. And then we fix it, and you couldn't have fixed that before if you said it the other way, because they wouldn't have told you that. And then compromise. Compromise if you have two people arguing, and this person's mad about this person's mad about this. Find a compromise in the middle. You be the middle person that helps them compromise things. And the same thing if someone's mad about you, the way you're making them work late hours this night. Okay, if I work late and help you out today, will you be willing to work late tomorrow? You know, make a compromise. Empowering others. This one is, this makes people trust you, like you said, for one, and it makes them feel better about themselves, and they're willing to do more for you and help you out as a leader. The way you do this is you trust others to do the right thing and give them projects and let them do it their way. So a lot of times, say you give a project, you want someone to make a PowerPoint presentations like this, right? For instance, you know this is the way you would do it, but they might have their whole different way to do it. Instead of saying, whoa, 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 what are you doing? Stop, stop, stop. That ain't how you do it. You need to do it this way, this way. Let them do it their way. For all you know, it could end up better than yours, or just as good. So let them do it their way. Now at the end, if it doesn't come out right, okay, let me help you out with that. Let me show you little tricks I use and maybe help them do this. But don't micromanage. Let them do it their own way the first time and see how it comes out. Don't question their techniques. Same thing goes to that. Their technique may be totally different than yours, but it may work for them. Let them do it their way. They might have just as good of results, if not better. And give them authority. You know, doesn't really, I don't know how to explain it, but you give them the right to make changes on their own, rather than they have to do what you say all the time. Now, that goes within reason, obviously. You can't let them do everything, but give them the authority so they're not having to come to you with questions. Hey, can I do this? Can I do that all the time? It makes them feel like they have more of a say. Excuse me. So in conclusion, Eric Bennett is a great leader. He leads by example, instills trust in others, empowers others, and resolves conflicts extremely well. He gives people the feeling that they can come to him with any problem they have and know he will do everything in his power to fix it. That's the plain gist of it. That's what I want to do in the future. Hopefully I can learn all these techniques from him. We're still doing one-on-ones weekly, even though this class may be over. But we're going to do it weekly, and hopefully I can pick up some more from him throughout the time. All right, thank you very much.